Will Lucas here, Black Tech, Green Money. Pleasure joining you guys again. Where my goal in this podcast is to present the stories of successful Black entrepreneurs, technologists, as well as actionable advice and wealth building strategies from a Black perspective. And today, I have the pleasure of talking to Candace Mitchell, founder at Myavana, a pioneering beauty tech company. Or since 2012, they have been aiming at revolutionizing personal and professional textured hair care through data-driven science and technology. And a little bit about her, she found success in developing sophisticated technology in the beauty industry that analyzes hair variables like type, texture, condition. Lord knows we need that. To develop personalized hair care plans that support healthy hair and growth. Graduate of Georgia Institute of Technology. Bring a ton of experience in cosmetology and computer science to Myavana. So the company has perfected and introduced a suite of innovative texture, hair science, and technology products, resulting in unique data insights for truly personalized textured hair care solutions. So welcome, Candace, to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on today.
It's a pleasure. The pleasure is all mine. And so I'm interested because somebody who has your background in education, like how you settle on this is the idea I'm going to pursue. Like you've been doing technology for a long time, went to school for it, obviously had interest in it growing up. How did you decide that I'm going to solve this hair problem for us?
Yes, well, actually, I went natural when I was in college at Georgia Tech. And I was using all these products, like from my roommates, my line sisters, and it was like drying my hair out and breaking off. So I was like, okay, there has to be a science to how different products react on your hair. And it just inspired me to study like the science of hair because I originally wanted to be a hairstylist when I was, in high school thinking about my career path. But I was also very in love with technology and software development. So I decided to go that route. But I always wanted to go to cosmetology school at some point. And so I was thinking, okay, this could be my chance to, put my cosmetology brain on. And when I researched the science of hair, I discovered that your hair is as unique as your fingerprint.
Mm.
So that's why the curl pudding for my hair wouldn't be the same as yours, as any other person. And that just really, truly inspired me to create an algorithm that could match your type of hair with the products that would work best for you. And so that's how it all started. And this was actually right before the natural hair movement started too.
And so we're having a huge conversation in our social discourse about AI and how AI is changing everything. And I wonder how you thought about and implemented AI into your technology solutions. Like, what are you doing when you're thinking about this is something that can be helpful for our people?
Yes, well, we are the inventors of Hair AI, which can identify your unique hair type, texture, and condition. And so think about like all the unique variables of your hair, being able to instantly capture that and map it to the right products based on your hair goals, hair challenges, and product preferences. That's what our technology does. And we were actually on the path of creating this before AI started to take over the world, essentially. So we ended up being, the market leaders in terms of bringing Hair AI to market. And
Wow.
actually, our first major client was Unilever, and we licensed it on SheaMoisture.com. And so integrating it with the textured hair care brands at the time was very pivotal because, again, we were all in this phase of figuring out our hair and understanding, like, again, what shampoo, conditioner, gel, cream, butter, which one works for me, because the product junkies were essentially starting to retire, right? Like in the beginning, it was fun to figure it out from experimental standpoint. But now, with the timing in the market, we want to eliminate the trial and error. And so that's exactly what Hair AI does by Myavana. And it also starts your personalized journey, meaning the next time you change your hair, you can get new recommendations as well. So we're excited to be the market leaders of that, especially because it's so important from a development standpoint for us to own the development side of this. We are a team of Black and Brown engineers. It's our
Mm-hmm.
culture, it's our pride, and we know that we can train the computers to essentially understand the cultural differences of our hair. Because for a long time, of course, our hair category, textured hair rather, was always an afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
So this was specifically designed to identify the uniqueness of our hair, because women of color have the greatest hair texture variety out of any ethnicity in the world. So we really wanted to own that and make sure that it was done well and done right with all textures, all types represented.
Yeah, I'm interested in the foresight, the forethought. Like you had,
Hmm.
you're doing this before ChatGPT changed everything for everybody,
Yes,
and this is like 2-3 years ago now. And so you saw something coming, and you started
mhm,
working on it pre all of that. And so
exactly.
I wonder, like, what was the trigger? Like, this is where we should be spending resources. What was that?
Yes. Yes, that's a really good question. I believe it was at the time where, e-commerce is taking off. A lot of retailers are starting to expand their categories. But I know what stood out for me was personalization and being able to incorporate massive amounts of data, to personalize the results. Meaning, this is a many to many analysis, meaning the many types of variables in our hair strands mapped to the many type of variables in products. And I actually saw this being done in other markets, in other industries, well before this. So I think it was just a matter of, having the foresight to know that eventually technology is transforming every industry, right? So we had already went through the ride sharing transformation with Uber and Lyft now leading the transportation category. Airbnb is now the leading marketplace for travel accommodations, right? So seeing how technology was so disruptive, I knew that it was bound to hit our market at some point in time, right? And what better way to do this by, again, catering to the unique needs of the consumer? Because we are the heartbeat of this industry, meaning we spend all the money in it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're spending, it is a part of our culture, right? It's a part of how we express who we are. And so it was just a matter of seeing the solution, but also being in sync with the market timing was the most important part of this. Because again, with technology, you do have to be a few years ahead to really
Yep.
make a stamp, like, so even if you look at the history of social networks, right? Like, before these companies reached mass adoption, they had to start in a particular niche that they were catering to. And
Mm-hmm.
so with social networking, even like, for example, Facebook starting on a college campus, Pinterest started with a group of stay-at-home moms. There was always a niche that became the drivers of adoption for that platform. And given that, Black women spend 9 times more than the average consumer on hair products, we're the ones searching, we're the ones buying. And so we became the niche group to cater to. But it ended up putting us, in a position to now lead the market for AI in hair care. And actually, the way we did it was we started exhibiting at trade shows. So our first trade show was the Bronner Brothers Hair Show, and this was in 2012. But we came with our first demo of our product. It was a hair journey platform, and so, the way we greeted everyone was, tell us your hair journey story, because everyone has one, right? And so that actually became part of our secret sauce, because we realized that not only do I need to understand your hair, I need to understand how it changes over time and why, because that is what's driving this buying behavior. And so by us tapping into those things, again, it's just like you have to, that's why I truly believe founders have to follow their conviction,
Yeah.
because like, by following that, we ended up becoming in the forefront of this trend, not only for hair care, but for all of beauty. And now as we see multiple industries too. So that's how it came together.
Yeah, I love that because I think like what you're displaying is both the need to have that foresight, that almost prophetic view of the future, and
Hmm.
be able to move fast. Because I think about just a few years ago, and for a while we were talking about we just need products that serve our texture at all. And what you've
Yes,
gone to is like, okay, it's not just about us as a people; it's about you as an individual. And so
exactly.
we've like, super fast went through black hair care products, African hair care products that, our type of hair, our type of skin, our type of whatever, to you, the individual. We're getting down to
Yes.
the you. And so my question is then for people who are building for us, how fast and convicted, to use your words, do we
Hmm.
need to be in order to be competitive in the future?
Hmm.
Because it's to the individual now.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to move on it immediately. And what I mean by that is, the moments of conviction is all leading up to something. And so on the consumer side, we can observe many trends, even when it comes to TikTok, right? Like there are many aspects of how certain features on other platforms, there may have been um, a certain part of the feature available on other platforms, but by focusing on this one thing, which is to me the consumer's engagement on small consumable content. I believe that, again, as a builder, you see something, and once you start building towards it and create a platform that caters to that one thing that drives a person, this is all like human psychology. My focus was human and computer interaction because it's that one thing typically that is setting your platform apart. Even in a saturated market, right? Like if we look at social media, there was a reason why, originally with Twitter, it was basically like the Facebook status,
Yeah.
that all gravitated us to Twitter, the one little small consumable chunk of information. So, what is the one thing that is driving your customer? Is what I feel like every founder needs to know and follow that thing. And so, for us, the one thing is the hair journey, right? One of my quotes, my favorite quotes is every hairstyle has a story, right? So if
Yeah.
you go back, you look at your photos, your moments over time, you know the story behind that style. Like what was going through your mind,
Yeah.
what era were you in,
The
you
music I
know,
was listening to back
the
then. Yeah.
music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. And so that is the driving force because our whole experience is personalized, meaning it's catered to you. It's the care system. Those are the steps we take you through: consult, analyze, recommend, educate. And when we have our consultations, we know that it's more than just hair, right? It's about you. It's about who you are at this point in time. It's about how you're evolving. Some questions we like to ask is if you could give your hair a name, what would it be and why? Right? Because your hair has its own personality
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
but it usually reveals something about you, right?
I like
Like
that.
mine's is sunshine because I love to do blonde, big hair. Also, the name of my journey is rebirth because I feel like every style shows the rebirth that I'm having over time, and so find the one thing that is driving your customer. Because typically your platform is going to be built around that one thing. And it just so happened that for us to get to the one thing, there's this major algorithm that's
Hmm.
involved.
Hmm. Hmm.
that took, 12 years of research and development. But now imagine we can unlock this for every person
Yeah.
so that at every stage of their journey, not only do they know what products they need, but they are supported in who they are at that stage of their journey. And that's what I love the most about Myavana. And I feel like we're just getting into that phase too, because first we had to build it, but now the idea of catering to the unique needs of every person on a personalized level, that
Yeah.
that gives me so much excitement.
Yeah. And with this rise of AI driven personalization, like we're having a huge conversation in our community about retail. And I wonder, like,
Mhm.
will traditional retailers struggle to keep up with your a product made for Candace and not for black women? It's made for Candace. Like how it's hard for them to put Candace on the shelf. But they can put our
Mm,
people on the shelf, but how do I do that?
yeah. Yeah, that's a really great question. So two answers to that, of course, like these retailers need strong innovation teams, strong technology teams, right? And since that isn't their particular line of business, that's why a company like Myavana is such a strong partner because we can own that innovation within any organization,
Mm-hmm.
right? We can sync right in to be your product team for Hair AI, implement it into your environment and run with it. Now, I love your question because here's the thing: there's a product for everyone, right? There's a product for everyone. So, like, yes, this shampoo might be for Candace, but it also may be for Lisa,
Yeah.
for Sandy, for Tamika, and, next month it will be for a new set of women, right? Because again, it's many to many, meaning that it could be personalized, but it also can have those same commonalities with other consumers that may have my same hair ID.
Mm-hmm.
So, to explain on the personalization side how it works with AI, once we do your unique analysis, you will now have a unique hair ID, right? So, think about Face ID with
Yep.
Apple, Touch ID, you'll have a hair ID with Myavana. And so, therefore, you can get personalized recommendations everywhere you shop. As we integrate more with the retailers, we're live with Ulta right now, and we have more that are being activated. So, anywhere you shop, anywhere you go, even salons, right? Having trusted salons who know your hair, know how to take care of your hair, it's all going to be associated with your hair ID. And so now, when we look at the product assortments in retail, they will have the data on the back end that says this grooming section, these 10 products are best for Will,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
They also may be best for John, for Dominique, for, whomever is your key customer, right? So with the brands, we help the brands find your target customer, right? And not on a demographic level. We're talking about hair care, right? Because most companies do have demographic data. That's how you are targeting your customers right now. That's how you're running your ads, right? It's mostly on demographic data, interests, things that you clicked on, so on and so forth. But imagine now you have data based on the unique hair care needs about that consumer and beyond, because we are going to go beyond hair for those who
Feel
are
that.
interested
Feel
about
that.
that. Because think about this: what companies actually know about you, right? What
Yeah.
companies know what you need right now? And so in this understanding of what the power of personalization can do, it helped me see that we will help companies shift from being solely transactional to more relational, because now your products can align with the real-time needs of that consumer. And so their whole assortment is now optimized to what their consumer needs actually are, and that data actually shows them what products they should be carrying too. because a lot of them may be missing out, maybe on some good brands too,
Yeah.
because we have emerging brands, we have a much more vast representation. So it's the data that comes from it that opens up so much more.
So you're doing physical stores on the continent now, and so
Yes, we
tell
are.
me about this. How did this
Finally.
come about?
Yes, well, this was always part of the blueprint, which is to own the full supply chain in the hair industry. From raw materials, meaning knowing the ingredients that are needed in certain products, to the retail side. But I knew our first phase would be powered by Myavana, which means making the existing retailers integrated with our technology,
Hmm.
and now in our ecosystem. What was important as we looked at market data was a lot of quality hair care products that we have here are not available on the continent in a lot of different nations. And so this was actually sparked when I was doing some ministry work in Uganda, because I started an entrepreneur's boot camp there years ago, through ministry. And so I did this whole amazing presentation, and the first questions I get were about my hair.
Yeah.
And so they're like, I'm focusing all on like financial projections, building your business model. And the questions I got were, is your hair real?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That was the first question. Number two, what products can make my hair like yours? And so I just had to take a step back, and especially when they were wondering, like, if my hair was real and if their hair could grow in this way, because I'm like, our hair naturally grows
Yeah.
like this,
Yeah.
right? But because you know, in many cultures, they're so influenced by other things like the media, like, you know, should their hair be straight? A lot of things that we went through in our culture. And so it showed me that similar to like the natural hair movement that we all went through, there's this same movement that needs to happen on the continent so that they can not only brace their own hair, but have the right products to do it.
Hmm.
Because it was the products when I went to like, the marketplaces that were out there, the products that they had were very, very low par in
Wow.
terms of ingredients and from what I knew was available, so that showed me the opportunity because from a retail standpoint, we always envision our retail experience to be similar to like if you envision Apple, but a beauty supply store,
Yeah. Yeah.
meaning that it's technology driven. We could bring that same personalized approach into retail. And so that was already part of the plan. But then the aha moment was, oh, we could start it in Uganda first.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because our market is already saturated, and our strategy in the US was more so integrating with the retailers and beauty supply stores here. And so we did a Retail Innovation Academy last year. We have 17 Black owned beauty supply stores who were in that academy and now powered by Myavana. And so we wanted to support the existing stores here. But as far as Africa, it's an open market opportunity, right? And so to me, from a business standpoint, it made more sense for us to start our franchise in the motherland and actually target each nation to open up global product distribution. And so I love the strategy so much because now we can distribute Black owned hair care brands in Uganda
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
beyond. And so it fills multiple purposes because the main purpose for Myavana is to reclaim the wealth of the hair industry,
Yeah.
which we know has gone to other cultures, over the years. So that's part of how we can strategically do that, and especially through technology.
Yeah, so talk to me about how you, just as an operator, had to shift gears from being a domestic company to now an international company. Different regulations, different governments, different ways. Maybe not capitalism. Like how
Mm.
does Candace and the way Candace operates her business have to shift?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, we did have to obtain our international trade license. So that was a process. And obtaining a business license in a whole other country, was a process too. But again, what it opens up is new market opportunity. And I will say, for the most part, it's just process and paperwork.
Hmm.
But I would say, from a strategy standpoint, being able to now transform our business model to a franchise model,
Hmm.
it now opens up the monetization of intellectual property, because the same IP that runs Hair AI is very similar to how we will run a retail footprint, how we run an e-commerce integration. And so it really showed me how we can expand our concept of thinking when it comes to business models. Um, but of course, you always have to do your market research in every nation, because I've learned a lot in just terms of studying Uganda, Ghana,
Yeah,
Liberia, South
yeah.
Africa, Nigeria, and they're all different. I will say that they're all different, but being able to have the market strategy with the right business model, it really opens up again. We think the US is a big market. It is like nothing in comparison to the
Yeah,
magnitude of all other nations,
yeah.
in Africa and abroad. So it was definitely an eye-opening experience.
So, what were some in that effort to become a more international company and specifically work on the continent? Like, what is some challenges that you know now that you could have, maneuvered differently that other people
Hmm.
who are considering doing this should be aware of?
Yeah. Yes. So, um, definitely learned a lot about this. We had a live broadcast at our store opening, and I would say the questions that we got were very different from questions that we typically get here. And so, I guess one of the major things that I learned is there is a different perception about American products
Mm,
overseas. And so, I think that the United States and Western culture, we have been painted as the superior country, right? Superior economy and things like that. But I think it has changed over time,
mm-hmm.
in terms of other countries' perspective of America, and even our economy and things like that. And so one of the questions was, why would I trust products from America?
Wow.
And I was like, okay, that's very interesting, that is a point of sensitivity. But, for us, it just really strengthens our mission with this, because we're specifically distributing Black owned hair care brands.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not that it's like, made in America, similar to made in China, where you don't know where in China this is made, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
And say, when we say, and I have a whole philosophy about this, but the fact that I could emphasize that these are actually Black women owned hair care brands. Women just like you, who took the time to understand the needs of our hair and now create their own products. And so, to me, that showed how we need to just incorporate brand education as we're selling, which we've already seen. This is that, consumers really buy into the trust of the brand
Mm-hmm.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're making that buying decision, even when we look at founder stories of different brands, you may, develop an affinity of the brand because of that founder
That's right.
story,
That's
their
right.
journey. And so that is just as much important, an important part of our marketing process when we talk about, products that are best for you, why, and
Yeah.
that the why is important. And then it also made me think of what does made in Black America
Oh
look
wow.
like?
Yeah, I like that. I
Yeah,
like
I'm
that.
like, okay, we need to talk about what's made
I
in
like that.
Black America because that's different than
Yeah.
America. You know what I mean?
So how does
Um,
a company, let's say I have, a black-owned hair care company, how do I get into your pipeline for recommendations? How does that happen?
yes, so you can go to our website, myavana.com, click the tab for brands, and go ahead and sign up. We have been doing a lot of our market research over the years. So we do have most hair care brands in our database. But for example, if you're an emerging brand, maybe we have not heard about you before, or maybe you are new to the market. It's a very simple process to be added to our recommendation system. It actually does include product performance testing
Mm-hmm.
so that you can become Myavana certified. That's our new seal of approval that we're releasing into the market
I
so
love
that
it.
you can trust these products that
I
you're
love it.
using. Yes, because we've done our own research on them. Because actually, the beauty industry is not regulated.
Yeah, that's why I was
So,
just wild when I learned that.
yeah,
Yeah, because your
yeah,
skin is. I've heard my dermatologist say that your skin is your largest organ, and you're
it
putting
is.
things on your body
It
that can
is.
seep into your pores, which is
Exactly,
wild.
yeah, and that includes your scalp.
Yeah, yeah,
Think about it, yeah, which is why the effects of wearing relaxers for so many years is so damaging
yeah.
because all those chemicals have been absorbed into our body one way or the other. And so, yeah, so that will be the process of being added to our recommendation system because we now want to create a symbol of trust for consumers that they're being recommended the best products and
Yeah.
there's, the research and development behind it.
And finally, like, how can entrepreneurs ensure that they're working on solutions, whether they be technical or otherwise, that can actually create generational wealth?
Yes, that is always at the forefront of my mind. I will say, one, you have to think about products and businesses that are generational.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is it's a staple part of your routine, your lifestyle, and it is something that will stand the test of time, even though it may evolve many forms. And then make sure you do have the assets in place to protect that. And make sure you are thinking generationally, and I think that has been kind of interpreted in different ways. Like some people think about, the wealth, the money that comes from the businesses that we are building, right? Meaning there's a lot of, different perspectives about black owned companies being acquired, and now is that generational wealth, right? Because now it's being sold to another company, so we can look at it from the perspective of the actual money and assets that come from that allow you to build a legacy,
Yeah.
maybe pass that on to the next generation, but also the actual businesses. Because I do believe that if you look at other cultures, right, you have staple businesses that will never go away in those communities as well. And I think that our legacy businesses have had a hard time maintaining that longevity and that sustainability. So I do think that there is especially a place to retain businesses in our portfolios, so that they are building the ecosystem of Black culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the thing is, every time a company gets to a tipping point, it's acquired,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, what is left for the infrastructure of Black culture? So, that I think that there's an opportunity to fill every position, every industry to now have like, our Coca-Colas, right? Our Chick-fil-A's,
Yeah.
like we know that those brands, these, American-based brands have now become staples and icons in their industries and markets. I still believe that we need to do the same. And I'm building my Ivana in that way to be a pillar in the beauty industry that can be passed on for generations, especially since we're, driven by technology. and wanting to protect how technology is created in the future too.